at 0, we're going to skip count by 5s until we get to 50. And then we're going to need to figure out how many skip counts did I have to do until I get to 50. Now raise your hand if you know how to skip count by 5s already. You're like a master. Perfect. Then I'm just going to have you guys call it out to me, and I'll write. So start at 0. Ready, set, what's first?
0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. That's what I'm talking about. 45, 50.
You just stopped at 50. All right, let's go back and add our repeated addition equations. These are our little carrots. I saw a lot of you doing that in your homework last night. That's awesome. Between 0 and 5, what should I write? And it is never just a number. Has to have an operation with it. Eva?
+2.
Not
+5.
+5. +5. What about my next one, McKenna?
+5.
What about my next one, Parker?
+5.
Oh my goodness, what is happening to my marker? What about my next one, Susie? Alright, I'm going to keep going. I want you to count up how many +5s, or how many skip counts, did we have to do? Whoops. So there's one in between 35 and 40. So how many, count in your head, raise your hand when you figured it out, how many skip counts did it take for us to get from 0 all the way up to 50? Dylan, how many did it take?
10.
It took us 10 skip counts. So it took us 10 groups of skip counting by 5s, right? To equal
10.
50. Do you see how I made that equation?
Yes.
I counted up all my skip counts.
Yes.
Questions about how I figured out how many groups of 5 I had? Aiden? I just want questions right now because I'm about to have you do some partner work. Okay? Every other question?
If 55 is that we're stopping at, then what are we going to start at next?
We went from 0 to 50. We didn't do anything with 55. Okay. Kaishir, do you have a question?
Do you count the little units by 1, or do you count them by 5, like 5, 10, or 1, 2?
So each skip count is one group. So this is one group, one group, one group. Does that make sense? They're skip count. I see what you're saying. They're skip counting by 5s. I get that. But I wanted to know how many times did I have to draw the +5. I counted them individually. I had to do it 10 times of +5. That only question? Okay. So what we're going to do in partners is you're going to have 2 skip counts to do. Now, if you look back at mine, you see how my numbers didn't all fit in one row? That's very tricky because this guy over here, I almost forgot because 40 should have been next to it, but he was on the bottom row. Try to make your sequence or your pattern of numbers fit in one row. Don't let it do like mine did because then it gets too tricky. Try to let it go all the way across. But in partners, you're going to have 2 of these to do. I want you to write the skip count sequence. I want you to write the repeated addition. And then I want you to write how many groups of skip counts did you need. Does that make sense? I'm going to have you do this with partners, and I'm going to have you do it with whiteboards. Okay? You can go anywhere around the room. It shouldn't take you very long. The first one you're going to do is starting at 0. You're going to skip count by 4s until you get to 20. And then the bottom one, starting at 0, you're going to skip count by 3s until you get to 27. Any questions about what you're doing? Yes.
Will this be on our homework like this, or will it it just be like,
We're not done with math, so just hang tight. Alright, I'm going to put you in partners and we'll get ready to rock and roll. Alright, Parker, I want you to turn our sequence from skipping from 0 to 20 into a groups of sentence. How many groups of skip counts did we need?
5.
5 groups. Alright, 5 groups of how many? How many was in that group? 5 groups of
5 groups of 4s.
of 4s. And what did 5 groups of 4s give us? What did that equal? Equals 20. Beautiful. Alright, starting on the next one. Grace. Alright, Cheyenne is telling us how many groups we have of our skip counts. What's your thumb? So Cheyenne counted 9 groups. 9 groups of how many? What did we use to skip count? 3. 9 groups of 3s. And that equaled what? What did 9 groups of 3s give us? 27. Nice job. Go ahead and erase your boards. So I have this word or story problem. We know that the very first step of doing a word or story problem is to do what? What do we gotta do, Parker? We gotta read it and make sure we know what's happening. Miss Miller is making banana pudding for a picnic on Saturday. She bought 4 bunches of bananas. A bunch is when they're all grouped together. Like, you know, when you go to the grocery store and they're all kind of stuck together. I bought 4 bunches of bananas. Each bunch had 5 bananas. How many bananas did Miss Miller buy? So what I want you to do is we need some bunches of bananas. How many bunches am I going to get? Oh, back up. I'm jumping way too far. Do we know what's happening in the problem?
Yes.
Yeah. What is the next step that I almost skipped? What's the next step that I almost skipped? Sam? I have to know my unit. What am I counting in this problem? I'm not counting banana bunches. Nope, I'm not counting bunches of bananas. Read the question. If you have a hard time figuring out what I'm counting, you need to be looking at the question. How many bananas did Miss Miller buy? What is my unit? What am I counting? Gabriella?
You are counting bananas.
I am just counting bananas. What's going to be my answer sentence? Lucy?
Miss Miller bought 20 bananas for the picnic.
Beautiful. Miss Miller bought. Oops, I guess I need bought in there. Bought. Go ahead and write your answer sentence in your notebook. Blank bananas. Miss Miller bought blank bananas. That's my answer sentence. I need to count bananas. Now I know some information. What do I know? I know I need to figure out how many bananas I bought, but I do know some information. Look back in my word problem. What information do I know? Susie, what's something that I do know?
That you bought 4 bunches of bananas.
I bought 4 bunches of bananas. Keep going.
And each has 5 bananas.
And each has 5 bananas. So I'm going to pull out my bunches of bananas. Oh, it's pulling them one at a time. Well, I'll have to fix that in just a second. Alright, here's 1. Here's 2. 3, and 4. I got my bananas all drawn out. You need to have drawn your bananas. Now that I've drawn my 4 bunches of bananas, and I know that each bunch has 5 bananas on it, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? I need some math. Dylan, what do you think I'm going to do?
Count the bananas by 5.
Okay, so I can use skip counting. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bananas in this bunch, plus, how many in this one? 5, plus 5. Make sure you're writing an equation underneath your bananas or next to your bananas. 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, Grace, equals
5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 20.
equals 20. Can somebody give me a groups of sentence? Because we just did this repeated addition, and that's what we're doing. How many groups of 5 did we have? Eva?
4
4. 4 what?
bananas.
No.
4 bunches.
4 bunches, or you could say groups of 4 groups of how many?
Bananas.
How many?
4 groups of 5.
Of 5. 4 groups of 5 bananas equals how many bananas? Georgiana? 20. Miss Miller bought how many bananas? How many bananas, Gabriella?
20.
20. Now, that took way too long. We are going to work on something that is my favorite strategy for solving this, and it is using visual models. A visual model is basically circles and dots. So instead of drawing 20 bananas like what you just did, we're going to make that more efficient. From here on out, I don't want you drawing whatever the unit is. If they say 30 cupcakes, do I want you drawing out 30 cupcakes?
No.
No. If it said 5 groups of 10 elephants, do I want you drawing 5 groups of 10 elephants?
No.
No. I want you doing a visual model. What that is I want you to make 4 circles. Make them pretty large because these are going to be your groups. So here are my 4 groups. What are my groups representing? No, they're not representing bananas. What are my groups representing, Natalie? The bunches, when they're all stuck together. So I have 4 groups or 4 bunches, and then I have something inside each group. What is in each group? Damien? How many?
5.
5. So inside each of your circles, I want you to put 5 dots. Oh, that one's not going. We'll just do it this way. So I have 4 groups of 5, 4 bunches of 5 bananas. This is how I want you, if you need to draw it out, I want it to look like. I want it to be circles and dots, circles and dots. This is my favorite strategy because it makes it a lot easier for me to see. You don't have to like this strategy, but this is the one that I like to use. Grace, what's up?
I actually like this strategy.
5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 4. 4 multiplied by 5.
So some strategies that I used, we used repeated addition, right? We used visual models. That's where we did circles and dots. And you used the groups of, where we wrote 4 groups of 5 bananas. You've already been doing multiplication.
I know.
You have already done multiplication. Write that in your notebook. Repeated addition and multiplication are the same thing.
You write it in bold words.
Sure, I like it in bold words. That's totally fine. So yes, it is true. You have been doing multiplication this whole time. So let's go back to our banana pudding problem. And now let's write a multiplication equation. Now I've been tricking you a little bit. You guys have been writing groups of sentences. Groups of is really what times means. That multiplication symbol, when I write, like let's say I was doing 10 times 5, what I'm really doing is 10 groups of 5. Think back, way back to what we did just this morning. 5 groups of 4 equals 20. Let's write a multiplication equation. 5 groups of, I just told you, was times 4 equals 20. Let's look at the bottom one. 9 groups of 3. 9 groups of means times. 9 times 3 equals 27. I know, you have been doing it. All right, let's look at my banana problem. How many groups of did I have? Parker? 4 groups of 5. So what's my multiplication equation going to be? 4 times 5. Equations always have equal signs.
So you're counting to that number
So-
many times, like 4?
Yeah.
Counting them 4 or 5 times?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
In this case,
9 times 3.
in this case, here, hang on, we're counting the 5 4 times because we have 4 groups.
Oh, so they count the second number 5.
Yes. The first number is how many big groups you're going to have. The second number is how many is inside that group. Horace, thank you for raising your hand, buddy.
So you've been teaching it as a trick for multiplication, even though you didn't tell us that was a trick for multiplication.
Yes, you have been doing multiplication, but now you know what it looks like. It is not some weird made-up thing. You know how to multiply. You know what skip counting is. Skip counting is multiplication. You know what repeated addition is. Repeated addition is multiplication. And now you know what groups of is with our visual models. How many groups did I make? That is multiplication. Yeah, they're all synonyms. Lucy, what's up? Thanks for raising your hand.
So when we do our homework, we can write 4 groups out of 5 equals 20 to help us out.
Yes. I personally, and if we had math lab again, I know Mr. Cassidy does this all the time too. Unfortunately, we don't. But I hate the word times. Because what does that mean, times?
Yeah.
But when I say groups of, well, I know what groups look like. And I know what of, that means inside. So I really don't want to hear you guys say 4 times 5. I want to hear you use the language that we've been using with groups of, 4 groups of 5, because that actually has a picture. I can look at it in my brain. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, you can write the equation 4 times 5 equals 20. That's totally fine. But when we're talking about it, I really want you to stick to that groups of language, 4 groups of 5, because then I can picture it in my brain. Times, I think of a clock.
Yeah.
It's weird. So I really want you to continue using your groups of. Cheyenne, thank you for raising your hand. What's up?
When we went back to what we did this morning, we had almost the same problem. But it was 5 times 4.
I know, tricky. Aiden, what's up, buddy?
Can you go back to the page?
Which one? We got a lot of pages.
The page when it says repeat addition on it.
This one? Yep. First step is always the same, which is what, Ella Harris? To read it. We gotta read it. Miss Howard's art class is using crayons today. Probably every day, right? You guys use crayons a lot. Each table has 1 box of crayons on it. Each box contains 8 crayons. So she's got all the tables. There's 1 box of crayons for everybody to share. And inside that box, there are 8 crayons. Okay? There are 7 tables in the classroom. How many crayons can Miss Howard's students use today? Draw a visual model to show your work. Let's first just talk about the question. How many how many crayons can Miss Howard's students use today? What are we going to be counting in this problem? It's a little tricky. We got a lot of things going on. What am I trying to count? Hajir, let's stick with the order that we're going in first. Dylan, what are we counting in this problem? We are counting crayons. Brian, what's going to be my answer sentence then?
Miss Howard's students can use blank crayons today.
Beautiful. Go ahead and write your answer sentence in your notebook. Miss Howard's. So I've got my answer sentence. Now the very last sentence in my word problem tells me what strategy to use. It tells me that I need to use a visual model. What are visual models?
A circle and a
Right here. Thank you for raising your hand. What are visual models?
circle and a dot.
Circles and dots. Circles are my groups. Dots are the things in that group. What's going to be my groups? This is tricky. What's going to be my groups? This is tricky. Courtney, what do you think? The tables are my groups. How many tables are in my room, Courtney? 7. Go ahead and draw 7 groups. Now, tables are usually rectangle. So, is it okay if I draw rectangles and dots?
Yeah.
Yes. Rectangles and dots are totally fine. Circles and dots are fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here are my 7 tables, or my 7 groups. Now I have some things inside that group, or in this case, on top of that group. What is in or on my table? Ella Harris?
Crayons.
Crayons. How many crayons? 8 crayons. So I'm going to go through and put 8 dots. Now, for those of you who don't work very neatly, or don't want to take the time to write 8 dots on every single one, I am okay if you put the number 8 inside.
Yes.
This is okay too. If you need to put the dots, go for it. It's going to take you a very long time. This works just as well. Somebody tell me, what do those 8s mean? What do those 8s mean? Eva, what do those 8s mean?
How many crayons?
You're on a roll, girlfriend. How many crayons? What do my boxes mean? Sam, get everything you haven't done for your report. What do my boxes, my rectangles, what do those mean? What are those? Susie, what are those? My groups, or what are they in my problem? Tables. They're tables. Alright, I have my visual model. Now I need to figure out what? I read the problem. I made a unit. I drew a plan. What do I need to do now? What do I need to do now, Georgiana?
You need to count the crayons you have and all the pictures. You count all the crayons and the class always figure out how to use today.
Very good. I need to count how many crayons I have. I need to count how many crayons I have. Start counting. How many crayons do I have in all? What kind of equation could I write? What kind of equation could I write? Courtney? Okay, what's it going to look like?
8.
Mm,
Oh, wait. What do you know?
start with your, let's start with an addition.
Okay. You can like add it.
Yep.
Okay. So 8. Plus
That's not really an 8.
plus 8. Plus
Trying to see my enrichment friends, and then I have my 2 new friends that are adding today.
Courtney's in the middle of giving us our addition equation. She is giving us repeated addition. She said 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Keep going, Courtney.
8. So there is
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep.
7 and plus 8. And another 2.
Equals question.
Equals question mark, equals box, equals the letter F, whatever. Somebody tell me what's my groups of sentence. Groups of sentence. Aiden, can you think of the groups of?
Yep.
How many groups? We'll start there.
7
7 what?
groups of 8.
7 groups of 8 equals box, question mark, whatever you want. Alright, let's try our multiplication equation. Kaylin, can you try it?
7 times 8. 7 groups of 8 equals
Equations always have equal signs. Box, square, F, I don't care. Alright, now you have to do the work. Figure out what is 7 times 8, or 7 groups of 8, or 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. So one strategy that I use is I do doubles a lot. 8 plus 8 is going to be 16. 8 plus 8, you already told me, is
32.
16. 8 plus 8,
16.
16. And then I
Oh,
just have
I
an 8.
didn't miss this complete. I don't know why I didn't think about that.
16 plus 16. 6 ones plus 6 ones is 12 ones. Can I smush 12 ones into the ones?
No.
I have to make a trade. What do I trade?
Ooh.
Courtney, what do I trade?
So you put the 2 ones in the ones place, and then you trade the one on the ones place.
I had to make a trade of 10. That 1 really means 10, and I had 2 left over, so now I'm at 32. 32 plus 16. So I've done this one. I've done this one. I need to add my final 16. 6 plus 2 is 8. 3 tens plus 1 10 is 4 tens, 48. I've done this one. Now I have just my 1 8 to do. 48 plus 8. 8 plus 8 is
66.
8 plus 8 has never been 56.
Well, that's what it equals.
It's been what, Dylan? 16. Can I smush 16 into ones?
No.
I have to do what, Dylan? Beautiful. Put the 10 in the tens place. I got left over 6 1s, which is still being left. 4 tens plus 1 10. 5 tens.
56. How did you do it? Wow.
Miss Howard students can use
56 crayons.
56 crayons today.